down. And I just want to thank everybody who is here. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Parsha, okay, about the Torah portion of last week, really, or it still is this week until Wednesday is when it really flips to the next week. So this week's Parsha is Parsha Ve'era. And so here comes the story, okay? We're going to tell you a little joke here, okay? So this man walks into a restaurant and his name is Jack and he's very full of himself. He makes tons of money and he always thinks he's the best and he's always like looking around and comparing himself to everybody in the restaurant. And he sees this one guy is like sitting in the corner and he looks so happy. And this Jack is like, what's he so happy about? Like, he can't be happier than me. I'm the one who's got all the money here. So what's this guy so happy about? So he decides, okay, he's going to make him like feel a little less. So he says, okay, I'm going to order drinks on the house for everybody except for that guy in the corner. Okay, so everybody gets drinks on the house and everybody's so happy and they're all going up to Jack and patting him on the back and you're such a great guy. And he looks over to the corner and he's thinking the guy's going to feel bad, like he bought drinks for everybody except for him. The guy's still smiling. So he's like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm going to buy the most expensive thing on the menu for everybody in the house except for that guy. Does it again. The guy is like, fine, smiling. Okay, so now Jack's really, it's getting under his skin already. So he goes, okay, that's it. The best dessert on the house for everybody except that guy. Okay, so he orders the dessert. Everybody thinks Jack is the best. Like they're woohooing him, high-fiving him. This guy in the corner is still a happy guy, no problem. Finally, Jack walks over to him and says, I can't take it anymore. Why aren't you upset? Don't you realize I bought for everybody in the restaurant except for you? And the guy goes, doesn't bother me. I own the restaurant. Okay. Okay. So what is it? What?
I was going to say, I heard it where the guy walks in, he's an anti-Semite, and he's everything for everybody who's not Jewish.
Oh, okay.
Carries on, and then Chaim sitting there at the end says, well, I'm Jewish and I own the restaurant.
Oh, okay. So you heard it very similar. I didn't hear the Jewish part, but that's very cute. So what's the point of the story? I feel bad for this girl who tried to get in. It didn't work. Okay, so what's the point of the story? The point of the story is for us to realize, like, when you start comparing yourself to other people, what are you really inviting? You're inviting a lot of pain and disappointment and jealousy that isn't really going to get you anywhere. So Mark Twain once said, one of the biggest ways to foster misery in life is by engaging in the act of comparing. If you're going to try to start comparing yourself to people, you're just going to get more and more miserable. So he said, comparison is the death of joy. Like whenever you're finally happy, yeah, okay, I'm good at this, yay. And then you look over, oh, I'm not as good as I thought I was. Oh, I thought I had a good this, but compared to that person. So where do you see this in the Torah? You see it with the Egyptians. Once the Jewish people, right, started becoming more and more and started moving into Egyptian society, the Egyptians become very jealous. And what do they say? Let's get rid of them. Right? When we become too assimilated into regular society, and God blessed the Jewish people with a blessing of success. Okay, if you look at the statistics in the world today, 40% of billionaires in the world today are Jews. If you looked when Trump is trying to encourage AI to be like the new thing, artificial intelligence, to be developed in the United States, 3 people were invited, right? Who were really the heads of AI, billionaires. 1 was Chinese, the other 2 were Jews. Do you know what I'm saying? So God blessed us. He said that to us. I will send you out into exile, but you will be like oil is to water. So what is oil to water? What's so special about oil and water? Yeah. Okay, Tanya got it. Oil is to water. That oil always
stays on top. It doesn't sink.
And Lemaisa, that's what it is. Like, we were proud of ourselves. Like I sometimes laugh. I think, if God forbid Hitler was resurrected. Hey, let's say God resurrected Hitler today. Yamach Shemo, like his name should be erased. Imagine what would happen. Like, just think about it. We would fly Hitler to Israel He dropped dead again. Okay. Do you know what I mean? Like what? I tried to destroy the Jewish people, and look what the Jewish people accomplished. Right? I tried to take them down in every way. Let's take him to Lakewood, where he would see a yeshiva with 5,000 or more students in it. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So like they become jealous. Like that's exactly what happens in the story. They become jealous of the Jewish people. They're too much in our face. They're too much in our society. They're rising to the top. We're falling. And you know what? If they get any smarter, we're done. Right? If there's any enemy that comes around Egypt and the Jews go, we're going to join you against Paro, guess what? The Egyptians could sink. So they decide they're going to do what? Destroy the Jewish people. And in the process of trying to destroy the Jewish people, what does Hashem do to them? Destroys them. Right. So God is really trying to tell you something very, very important. Stay away from comparing yourself to other people and to their circumstances and to your circumstances. Because when you look at other people, I always tell you this is a true story. I'll never get over it. Okay, I had a very good friend, very wealthy girl. They built a beautiful mansion, beautiful. And I went to her house, okay? And I'm looking at it and I'm telling her, wow, your house is beautiful. I'm so happy for you. And she goes, really? It was very beautiful to me. And then she takes me to the window. She goes, until that. And right across the street, someone else had
Yeah.
a true story. And she admitted it. I was like, yeah, right. But this is the thing. It isn't easy, right? It isn't easy. And if you look at Judaism, look how Hashem is forever. He's kind of really trying to massage us to be able to really understand that there will be people who are better than you, better off than you, better at doing things, right? And people who you think are less than you. But the truth is, God is telling you, don't look this way or that way. Stay focused on who you are. And the outside of you, the exterior of you, it really is not your, in Yiddish, your Geschäft, your business, right?
Yes.
Because God is going to give you this husband, this money, this job, this, right? The only question is who you are from the inside. Who did you create? What kind of name do you have? Okay, so Tanya, I want to hear from you because I see Tanya.
It's like, I was just thinking, it's the yeah, but. Yeah, but.
Yeah.
And that is really difficult. And I have to say, it's much easier now. I don't compare myself. I'm, early 60s. But for young people, it's such a waste of energy.
Oh, it's
and you
such a
can't
waste of
say
energy.
anything. They can't,
I know.
can't get through. It comes with, the test is stronger for them.
Yes, I agree. I
Is
agree.
it as
You
get
hope.
older, or is
You
it everyone
hope.
goes
I
through
don't
it?
know. You have to work on yourself. Like I'm really going to be honest, and I keep telling people that you can grow older, but that doesn't mean you grow wiser. Okay, so Hashem will, you have no choice in life. God's not, you don't like, every one of us here would like to go, God, can you stop doing this? Okay, I don't want to feel older. Like, leave me alone. I want to live longer, but I don't want to necessarily feel older. But God's telling you, not only are you, you're maturing in your body, you are in control of maturing your mind and your emotional well-being. Do you know what I mean? Right? And your circumstances. These are really important points. That's why you learn Torah. That's what's so beautiful about Torah. It can talk to anyone at any age. It's one of the most incredible pieces of information. You can't usually talk to children and adults and elderly and this and that with the same information. And I can teach Torah across the board, right? I give classes to people who are 20 and classes to people who are in their 80s. Do you know what I mean? And I'm usually saying the same Torah, right? It's really something when you really think about it, like the greatness. So this idea, we have to be really, really careful because it can really take you down. So the Torah does a few things. It shows you even great people, like you know, there's a very beautiful blessing that we say Friday nights, and we'd say to the boys, they should be like Ephraim and Menashe, right? Yevarechecha Hashem, Hashem should bless you, and you should be like Ephraim and Menashe. Now, it's a very interesting story that you have a hard time getting. So let me explain. What was the problem? Like, let's go back a couple parshas. Yaakov looked at Yosef, and what did he feel? He felt an incredible love for Yosef. And he saw that Yosef was meant to lead the family. In the end, it would not be Reuven, the oldest son. It would be Yosef who would lead the family. And what did he do? He gave him, what did he give
Coat
him?
of many colors.
Yeah, it's beautiful. A coat of many colors. And then how did all the other boys feel?
Jealous.
Because they
Didn't have it.
compared, right? They started comparing. Okay. So now, fast forward, the whole mess, 22 years later, right? I think it's 22 years later. And now Yaakov and Yosef and everybody's all back together in Egypt. Okay, now all the brothers are back together in Egypt. And now it's time to give a blessing to Ephraim and Menashe. Okay, so Ephraim and Menashe are two brothers, right? And Ephraim is, I think, the younger one. Menashe is the older one. And when he went to give the blessings, Yaakov gave the younger brother the stronger blessing, and the older brother not as strong of a blessing. And Yosef is panicking. He's like, oh, wait a minute, you're making a mistake. And he wants to move his arms. And he said, no, I'm making no mistake. Because although this brother is the younger brother, he is going to need more help because he is going to play a bigger role than even the older brother. So what's God trying to teach us? And then in the Chumash, half the time it will say Moshe and Aaron went. And then the other time it says Aaron and Moshe went. Now, usually you would think the more important goes first. Aaron is the older brother, and Moshe ends up being the bigger leader. And yet in the Torah, it keeps flipping it. Okay? So what's it trying to teach us? What is all of this trying to teach us? Stay in your lane. Each and every one of us has an important mission. Some people will be big, bright leaders, but some people have to be good followers. Right? You know when they say like too many chefs spoil the broth, right? Or too many chiefs and not enough Indians, because it destroys the purpose of what has to happen. You have too many people who think they're the boss. Anybody ever been on committees where everybody thinks they're the boss? You're done. You're not going to move, right? You need like the person who is Rosh HaYeshiva, the one who is the head of the yeshiva, right? You can have other people around, and each one of those people around are very important. That's what God is trying to teach us all. In Western civilization, in Greece, they teach you there's one line, there's a whole bunch of us lined up, and we go on your mark, get set, go, and whoever gets to the top is the winner. In Judaism, everybody has their own lane, their own line, and the only person you're competing against is
Yourself.
Exactly right. It takes a long time to be able to accept that. And when Tanya was saying, today, yes, but this is the danger of Instagram, TikTok, social media, because people post online and people are looking for tons of validation. Yep, validation, and they need everybody, and they need to say, oh, I have 1 million followers, I have 2,000 followers. It can get, you just think about what that can do to your head. Do you know what I mean? And what about there's people who overnight, they did some kind of silly song, they did some kind of silly dance, they said something crazy, and somehow 1 million people thought it was funny. And it went around and around and around, and now this person has instant fame. Could you imagine having instant fame? Now you wake up the next morning, what do you need? You know what a dopamine hit that is? With every time your phone goes beep, you get this little feeling like, wow, Wow, it's a dopamine rush. That's why everyone is so connected to their phone. So imagine overnight you got 1,000,000 of those. And then the next morning, guess what? Your video is passé. You're here today and gone
Tomorrow.
right?
Actually, Gail, I saw something today. It was very funny. It was do you remember in the old days when you used to you used to have a diary,
Yes.
and you'd get really mad at
Yeah,
if
if somebody
anyone
read it.
Yeah. So somebody read it here?
No, I'm saying no, I don't know what you're saying, but I remember people would get mad if you read their diary,
If
that was like the
somebody
worst
read
thing
it.
to do.
And now I don't, but we share everything
Right.
online, and then we get mad if people don't read it. I just thought it
Exactly.
was so true.
It's so true. That's an amazing way of putting it, right? So like we almost overexpose. People are overexposing themselves and competing to like overexpose. Oh, you said that, I'm saying this. You went on this vacation, I'm showing you this vacation. Do you know what I'm trying to say? You have this many boyfriends, I have that many boyfriends. You have this. Like it's non-stop. Okay. And it brings, what does it bring? Like, what does jealousy do? What does it do for you as a
It eats into you.
Yes, Diane, perfect. That's exactly what the Torah tells you. That's exactly what the Torah tells you. The Torah tells you when you get so full of this jealousy, it takes you out of the world. So what does that mean? Takes you out of the world. So it's two things. Takes you out of the world, as in you can't even focus because all you're ever focused on is what the other person has. Do you know what I mean? Like you just focus, like no matter how good you think you look, if they show up at the wedding, you're like, oh,
looking better.
Right, they're looking better. So it's like taking you out of the world, you can't focus, and it's taking you out of your own personal world of potential. Because now you're not working on who you are. You're just looking to compare, right? So if you ever like, people bet on the horses and the horses race. If you ever notice, what are the horses wearing over here?
Blinkers.
Yes, they're wearing these like blinders. You know what I mean? Because otherwise, what's going to happen? They're going to keep looking over at the next horse. They're going to get very distracted. So the idea is you stay in your lane, you motivate yourself as best as you can, you try your best. So Torah is trying to show you, yes, Moshe was the great prophet. Moshe spoke to God personal, like Moshe was one of the greatest human beings on earth. But Aaron, his brother, played a role too. And he was involved in what they call the Exodus project. You know what I mean? He was equally involved in that his share, as long as you complete your tachlis, your purpose, you're really working hard to try to be the best that you can be, right? Then you're equally as important as anyone else. Right? Like some people will be born like, you ever watch America's Got Talent? Ever watch Britain's
Yes.
Talent? Okay, and you see these kids can come on. Kids, like 10-year-olds, 6-year-olds, and they open their mouth and it's like,
they're fantastic.
It's beyond, like you almost feel like fainting. Like you're like, oh, how could anyone this little have all that talent? So can you really be jealous of them?
No.
Oh, they got that gift,
Happy for
and
them.
that's their role, and they're going to be, they're going to bring joy to the world through their music. But it's ridiculous to be jealous of them. Do you know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous.
No,
So,
admiring.
right, you're going to have your role to play, right? You're going to have your role to play, right? Right? And the Torah is telling you, you could be like Moshe in that Moshe cared to fulfill his role. You care to fulfill your role. That's all. Just like Moshe tried and Moshe fell and Moshe got up and Moshe kept continuing and the people made him crazy and this and that, you could do the same, right? Each one of us is challenged. Nobody here has like a life without any challenges. None, right? So you could be like Moshe, right? You could be like Moshe. Like Moshe understood this, stay on this path, watch my lane, stay where I am, do what I have to do, right? Work within myself and my boundaries, right? We're all going to be good. And God gives each and every one of us a very unique reality, a unique period in history. Nobody has your retina. Nobody has your thumbprint. Nobody can make the same. Nobody can walk in your shoes even, right? Your shoes, you make a special imprint in your shoes. No one else can make that imprint, right? So instead of like feeling jealous, what should we feel?
Pleased for them.
Yes, excellent. Happy for them. That's good. I'm happy for you. And I have to stop thinking that because you have, I don't. I have what I need, you have what you need. And it's very hard. I'm not saying this stuff is so easy. It's not. It's not. You work in a place and one person is like top, top, top. You're okay. They wouldn't fire you. You're good, but nothing like the ace, you know what I mean? Like my son-in-law is a lawyer in a very competitive firm, and everybody is trying to become a partner. Do you know what I mean? Like everyone, that's not easy. Like, and everyone has to outwork the other one. Like, this one works 24, comes to the job 6 in the morning, then you got to come 5 in the morning. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like this rat racy kind of, it's not simple. It's not simple. So you have to sit back and go, I'm not going to make partner. And I'm proud of them. Good for them. They're gonna, they work harder, they have a better brain, they're faster. Good for them. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, but right? So you got to be able to say, what, it's okay. You know what, Hashem gave me what I have. He gave you what you have. And that's it. Like we're here to be there for each other, good, bad, and ugly, and smile and wave and do you know what I mean? And move. But you don't want to come to a place where you like totally destroy your reality because you're so busy, right? Looking at the other people. And what I think is so beautiful is no matter how much, right, like the non-Jewish world may be jealous of us and want to take us down, we have to realize that the prototype of the redemption is what happened in Egypt. So the more they're going to try to take us down, the more we're gonna flourish. Exactly. And we have to that's like a great blessing that we have. And if you stop and you think about, so now let's look at the prototype for who the Messiah could be, for who this Mashiach could be. Like, just think about this. This is crazy. Okay. So Paro has astrologers. In those days, people really could read the stars. Okay. You have to understand there has to be an equal plane of evil so that you have free will choice. Okay. So the astrologers see, what do they see? That one day there will be born a male redeemer among the Jewish people who will come and save the Jews from Egypt. Okay, so now everybody's panicking, okay, because we want these Jews. They're good slaves. We don't want to see them go. All right. So, oh my gosh. So now the stars reveal that this Redeemer is going to find his end. He'll like something his end, he'll pass away. His greatest downfall will be through water. Right? And that's where Moshe made a mistake with the rock and hit the rock instead of spoke to it, and then the water came out. So that really was his end. But they assumed he's going to drown. So then what did Paro do? Let's drown all
Jewish boys.
boys. Okay, so now what's the joke? So he's got this whole thing, these soldiers, everyone's going everywhere. And where does Moshe end up living and growing and prospering? Right under his nose in his palace. And what's the name that she gave him, his daughter who saved Moshe? Moshe means I took him out of the water. See what the irony is? The irony at the end, like God brings Paro down so badly, tries to show him, oh, you think you're evil. Because Paro, who did he compare himself to? Gods. Paro said, I'm a god no less than all the other gods. Just like the Nile is a god, and this is a Baal is a god. I'm a god too. Okay? So then Hashem said, okay, I'm going to show you. You tried every trick in the book, but right under your nose was where Mashiach was coming from. It's really crazy. And not only Mashiach is coming from that right under your nose, his name keeps rubbing it in your face and you're not even getting it. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like such a crazy story. And you have to see, it's interesting. Like The Torah tells you also with this jealousy, the grass is always greener on the other side. Moshe did not spend a lot of time with the Jewish people. He did not become the leader who came and saved the Jewish people till he was 80 years old. He grew up in the palace, and then in around 20, he goes out, right? He has this job. Paro gives him a job to watch all of the, Egyptian taskmasters. He comes out. He sees one of them doing what? Whipping and killing a Jew. So he goes and he kills that guy, right? And then a Jew informs on him. And now Moshe has to run away. He runs away for 60 years. So it's very interesting. The Torah says, why didn't Moshe grow up among the Jewish people? Why did he have to be someone who came from the outside in? Because unfortunately, we as the Jewish people can be very judgmental. So if you ever take a look, like it's my daughter, okay, so it's a true story, but I'm not going to say the names. I'm going to make the names of the cities up, okay? My daughter had a sister-in-law whose husband was an assistant principal, right? And she was a really good top teacher. And they were living in, I'm making a place up, Texas. They were living in Texas. And now the principal was leaving. So who did you think should have become the principal?
Wow.
Right? But instead, they said, no, we need somebody from out of town. His best friend was living in Memphis. And he was the vice principal in Memphis. And guess what? They needed a principal. Principal stepped down, and they needed his principal. He should have become the principal. But what did they say? We need somebody from out of town. So the guy from Texas was forced to move to Memphis. This is a true story. And the guy from Memphis was forced to move to Texas. Because that's who we are as the Jewish people. I know you. I know all your stuff. I need somebody completely new. So Hashem said, had Moshe grown up with the Jewish people, they would have said, Moshe, I remember him. He was such a crazy teenager. He's not my kind of cup of tea. Forget it. He can't be Mashiach. And I really believe, I'm being honest, that whoever will be this Mashiach in the future is also going to be someone we would have never expected. I have no idea. Maybe he's, living in Gaza. I have no idea. Do you know what I'm saying? But it will be from left field. It's not going to be someone like, we think, oh, it's this great rabbi. It's that great rabbi. Every group thinks it's their rabbi. It's going to be someone, I think that's what the prototype shows you. Someone completely out of nowhere. So that nobody can come and say, oh, I remember, and yeah, no one can have their tainas on Mashiach. It'll be from left field. So I just want to tell you one of the best stories. This has got to be one of my best stories. I don't know if anyone here knows Lily Tobis. Maybe some people from my shul. Anybody know Lily? Diane, you might know Lily. You would if you saw her.
Face, but I don't know her name.
Yeah, you would if you would see her, you would know her. Okay, so she's been in our shul for years and years, maybe 30 years. So she tells this story. She just told me this story, and I had to write it down and tell it over because it's such a beautiful story. This idea of every person is valuable. Everybody has their purpose, and you know what I mean? And you never know who is who. Okay, so Lily Tobis, this is years ago when her kids were very young. She had 2 little kids. So she needed to get a nanny. And so she put an ad in the Toronto Star. That's how long ago this was. And this woman shows up at the door from St. Vincent. Okay, her name is Yolanda, and she's from St. Vincent. And she's interviewing her, and she says, listen, ma'am, whatever you think, I just want you to know that I'm a wise woman. And if you were smart, you'd hire me. So there was no one else who came. Yolanda was the only one who was smart enough to answer the ad, and she hired her. Okay. She really loved her. She actually became her real confidant. All right. So although Lily was raised in a traditional Jewish home, they didn't keep kosher. They really didn't keep Shabbos. They didn't really keep too many things. Parents were Holocaust survivors, but she always knew about Jewish tradition. And the same with her husband. Okay. So they decided that they're going to send their kids to Associated. Okay, so now Lily is not like such a fluent Hebrew reader, and she's starting to feel bad about like, I don't really know so much. My son's going to Jewish school. It would be nice if I learned something. And she sees this ad, like you can learn the crash course in Hebrew reading at Or Sameach. All right. So she says, okay, I'm going to take it. And she tells this Yolanda, Yolanda, I'm going to take this course. And Yolanda's like, so proud. Lily, you go take that course. It's important. If you're Jewish, you got to know Jewish things. So she goes to the course. She comes home that day and Yolanda says, so how was the course? And she goes, oh, it's like so hard. It's like such a pain. I don't know. So Yolanda goes, what? Do you think you learned how to tie your shoelaces in one day? You go back to that course. Okay. And because Yolanda encouraged her to go back to the course, she went back to the course and she started learning. She ended up going to Isha Torah. She ended up going to Or Sameach. So now she's like learning, bit by bit, more and more. Okay. Kids are coming home. They know more stuff. And now this Yolanda is working on Fridays for an Orthodox family. Okay, so she works for Lily, I think it was 5 days a week, Saturday till Thursday. And now, Saturday till Thursday. And on Friday, she goes to this more Orthodox family. So Lily is barely keeping kosher. The only thing Lily has is 2 sets of dishes, but not necessarily kosher stuff going on it. So then Yolanda says to Lily, Lily, you ain't keeping kosher right. So Lily's like, what? She goes, I work in an Orthodox family. You a Jewish girl. You don't know how to keep kosher. So she goes, what do you want me to do? She goes, you got to kosher your home. So she says, I can kosher my home. That's like so much work. It's overwhelming. So Yolanda picks up the Chabad calendar. Yeah. You know how it has an ad, need help to kosher your home? We can make it easy. So she goes and she says to Lily, see this, Lily? You can make your home kosher and they're going to make it easy. Could you believe it? So Lily signs up. It's a true story. Lily signs up. She goes to Chabad. Chabad comes, all these ladies, they're helping her keep kosher and teaching her all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. She ends up in the middle of koshering her house, and her husband comes home. And he's like, what's going on here? And Lily goes, we are going to have a real kosher home. And so her husband's a really sweet guy. He goes, whatever. And then Yolanda said, Lily, be really smart. Let's make him the best dinner and we'll use all the beautiful dishes. So that's what they did. Okay. Now fast forward. Lily's thinking maybe she should take her kids to shul on Shabbat. Like maybe that's a nice thing, they'll play with other kids, they'll learn about Shabbat, they'll go to shul. So she drives. She's driving to shul. And what she does is she parks a couple blocks away. They get out of the car and then she starts walking to shul. Fine, she's doing it week after week after week after week. Gets them all dressed up. One day, it's Shabbos morning. She wakes up and can't find the kids. And she can't find Yolanda. So she opens up the door and Yolanda had them all strapped and ready in the stroller. Okay, and they look beautiful. They're all ready for Shabbos. And she says to her, Lily, I took your car keys. The shul ain't that far away. You could walk. The kids are ready. The day is beautiful. It's time for you to walk to shul. Like, I don't know who this girl was. We have to find out who Yolanda was and send her out to all the Jewish people because I don't know. Anyway, so this Yolanda, and then at the end, Lily never drove to shul again. She always it's like a crazy story. Yolanda lived with them for, I think, over 10 years. Okay. And then time passes. And in that 10 years, Lily had her 3rd baby. Her name is Rachel. This baby now is like 30, you know what I mean? She had her baby, and Yolanda and Rachel had a really close bond. Like they really loved each other. Okay, fine. But the kids grew up and they didn't need Yolanda anymore. And Yolanda went off and Lily went off. And now Rachel had a baby in 2022. The true story. That's why I can't get over these stories. It's a true story. In 2022, Rachel has a baby and she's overwhelmed. Like she's a dentist. She's very bright, Rachel. She works. She has her own business. Now she has a baby. She doesn't know what's going on. Like, you know how it is, right? When these moms have babies, we all know, right? And she's having like a little breakdown. She's crying and she's telling Lily, I need help. I need help. And Lily goes, what can I do for you? I'll do anything. Just tell me what you need. And she goes, I need Yolanda. Lily goes, we haven't seen Yolanda in 15, 20 years. I could do a lot for you, but I don't think I could find Yolanda. And she leaves, and this girl lives downtown. She's coming back up north to her house, and she's driving down Flamingo. And she looks up, and who does she see standing on the street?
Yolanda.
Yolanda. She opens the door, like to the car, stops in front of her. She goes, Yolanda? And Yolanda goes, Lily? Yolanda? Lily? And then Lily goes, I have a surprise. I know we haven't seen each other for 20 years. Just get in the car. She put her in the car. She drove her all the way downtown to Rachel to see her baby, to see Rachel. And guess what? Rachel
They
hired
enjoyed it.
Yolanda.
A wonderful story.
I love that story because just
I think she's an angel.
yes, like it's a malach. It's some kind of a malach. That's not. Ladies. What are the chances of that story? What are the chances? Right? Like, what are the chances? And the way, like Lily, like she ended the story. I asked her. She wrote it out for me, and she said, "And the end of the story is Yolanda was true. She was a wise woman." Do you understand that this Yolanda changed the whole trajectory, like, of her family? Do you know what I mean? Like her whole family was changed because of Yolanda. Do you know what I mean? So you gotta like be smart and you have to not be full of yourself and you have to be able to listen and to learn and to appreciate that everybody is special. Everyone has someone to, to teach you something. Ezahu chacham, who is a wise person? Hamilamed mikol adam. Not these people who get jealous and full of themselves and they walk in the room and everybody has to stare at them and everybody has to know them and they have to say everything. Like, no, right? Everybody, Yolanda, everybody is special. Everybody has something special to teach you. And Yolanda really like lived with purpose. Do you know what I mean? Like she could see Lily, she could see this family. She knew Lily trusted her. She knew she loved Lily. She could see, she's working, she's this thing. She sees all these different families and she says, you know what? You want to have some good kids, Lily? Here's what I'm going to tell you to do. Do you know what I mean? It's like such, to me, an incredible story. So I'm going to tell you one more story. I just have to find it. And I put it where I would find it so I could tell it to you. Okay, and here it is. And this is a very famous story. This actually, they made a movie out of this. Okay, there's a movie made out of this person. Okay, and the story is told by Rabbi Pesach Krohn, and Hashem should send him a quick and complete refuah shalema. Okay, so there was a very famous U.S. Navy jet pilot. It was a very famous guy. His name was Captain Charlie Plume. Does anybody know who I'm talking about? They actually made a movie. Okay, so he was in 74. Can you imagine? Combat missions, and they were all successful. And this was during the Vietnam War. 74, and in his 75th was going to be his last flight, the last combat mission, and they were going to retire him. Like, you know what I mean? Like he had really given it all. So it's his 75th mission, right, in Vietnam, and they hit him. They hit the plane, and he had to jump out, eject perfect with his parachute. And he's like praying, you know what I mean, that he'll eject into a safe place. He was caught. He ejected right where the Vietnamese were. They threw him in prison for 6 years. Okay, so he's like in this torturous prison for 6 years, right? And then finally he gets out. And the war's over, he gets out, and he became a very famous speaker. Like he went all over to speak on, first of all, to speak on surviving. Do you know what I mean? Like all kinds of things. He was a very interesting character. Somebody who, imagine in combat, flying 74 times in the 75th, you're caught and now 6 years in prison. Like it was something to hear him speak. And one day he's sitting also in a restaurant, okay, and he sees this man like staring at him. You know, he's getting a little uncomfortable because the guy just keeps staring. And then finally the guy gets up and he walks over to him and he says to him, are you Captain Plume? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, and the ship that they were on was the Kitty Hawk. He goes, were you on the Kitty Hawk? Like that was where you would launch off, you know what I mean, into the air. So he said, yeah, I was in the Kitty Hawk. He goes, you know, I was a sailor there when you were there. I was a sailor at the same time that you were there. And you want to know something? I'm the one who packed your parachute. And this captain like looked at the guy and he said, do you know how many times I prayed and thanked you? You saved my life, right? And like, I really want to thank you. And he shakes his hand, right? And then the guy left. And then this Captain Plume said he sat there and he realized that when he was on that ship, he never said hello to anybody beneath him. He was the captain. He was the star. He was the guy who flew on these missions and nothing ever happened. He said, like, that sailor was with him. He said he probably saw him every single day. And he said, I probably never once said hello to that guy. Never once thought he was valuable in any real way. Could you imagine? And he was the one who saved my life. And this
Wonderful
isn't
story.
a beautiful story. So this is what we have to realize. Like some people will get to be Captain Plume. Good for him. And a lot of us will just be the guy packing the parachute. But you are enabling an incredible reality. I once heard, I can't remember this story. I wish I could remember 100%. There were these two prisoners in the Holocaust who had to work. Do you remember this? Like you're shaking your hand, these two prisoners in the Holocaust who had to work on the bombs and the demolition and the bullets and all these kinds of things in the Holocaust. And they were sabotaging it all. They were two Nebuch, like Holocaust Muslim, you know what I mean? What were they? What were they living for? And they were sabotaging a lot of the weapons. And I can't remember which like moment it was where they had sabotaged something and it changed the destiny of that, you know, war at that point in time. It's just like for us to know. So Baruch Hashem, Hashem should just bless us that we should stay in our lane and do what we have to do. And you know what I mean? And just feel the joy of being who you are. Feel the blessing of who you are.
And really appreciating the silent heroes. I love those.
Yes, yes. All the Walandas and the okay. So everyone have a wonderful. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you. It was
Thank
wonderful.
you, Diane. You look so beautiful. I can see how cute. Okay. All right, everyone. All the best to everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Nice to see
Lots
you.
of
I'm so
love.
happy, Hazel. It's so nice and so nice to see you.